From the studio of Take One, this is White Space, a space for ordinary people to share their experiences on common human emotions. I'm your host, Susan Angami, and welcome to this episode. This season, we are exploring grief, and today's essay is on the beginning years of becoming an adult. The writer, Changsonla Chang from Tuensang, reflects on how, as a young girl, she shouldered responsibilities that seemed to be beyond her years. The essay is titled Putting Back Together, and it'll be read by Ayieno Kechü, a media professional from Kohima. Here is Putting Back Together.
We were in the middle of my parents' separation. It was inevitable, but still painful when it was happening. Suddenly, we were all alone, or we felt that way. All those days of uncomfortable silences when we sat around the kitchen hearth, waiting for an argument to begin, were over. The days of shouting and cursing across the rooms were over. Finally. But were we ever going to be ready? All of us siblings were in different places. Each of us had to carry that grief alone. We did not even call each other to cry or to comfort one another. Maybe it was just as heartbreaking for my siblings as it was for me. But we were silent. My dad called me to tell me it was over between him and Mom. I did not ask why. There were so many answers. I cried after we hung up. I don't know why. I knew their relationship had soured. So why was I crying? I cried until my lungs gave out. I cried for my parents. I cried for my sisters. I cried for myself. I remember walking the markets of New Delhi, the city lights all ablur with my tears and thoughts. Just a few months before this, my father had been recovering from cancer at Vellore. My youngest sibling was in a hostel with no one to tend to her during the summer break. I went home to bring her to Delhi and then to Vellore. Summers in Dimapur were just as bad, humid and sweltering. The fan a mere namesake. Mom told me that finances were scarce and the train journey would take very long. So we booked the cheapest flight from Guwahati to Delhi, stayed there for a few days, and then went to see Dad. I had to mother my sister, make her feel everything was going to be fine. We boarded the night bus, reaching Guwahati at dawn. My sister had to rest even if for a few hours before our flight, and so, in a desperate attempt, I contacted a long-lost friend who was staying in a paying guest to shelter us for a few hours. I will forever be grateful to him for agreeing. It was an act of kindness I knew I did not deserve. Motion sickness got the better of my sister even during the flight, and the Delhi summer heat did nothing to alleviate it. She slept, her small body huddled in the corner, the breeze from one grumbling fan doing nothing to make her feel better. I bought her a pizza, a luxury then, but my attempt to uplift her spirits was futile. The next day's journey to Vellore was a new story altogether. Now, when I think of this particular memory, it seems like it happened just yesterday. My sister and I are in the bus. She is battling motion sickness. At that moment, I knew she was trying her best, as much as a small girl could do, trying to be brave for me, to be brave for my parents. We both tried our best. I did not know how to be a mother, having dawned on adulthood prematurely, but I did what I could. I realized that sometimes we just have to bake the cake with the ingredients life gives us, even without any knowledge of baking. It is still not easy, but what choice do we have other than to keep on living and doing our best every day?
That was Putting Back Together by Changsonla Chang and read by Ayieno Kechü. We asked Ayieno what she thought about the essay, and here is what she said.
Reading the essay took me back to my childhood. My parents divorced when I was young, and I did not have much of a father growing up. I always wondered what it would be like to grow up and live with both of them. I yearned for my family to stay together. One of the many things I envied about people from nuclear families was going to church as a family. Divorce is a journey that the children involved do not ask to take. I was forced along for a journey dictated by the road my parents took. I grew up feeling ashamed of my parents' divorce and somehow believed that maybe my disappearance would make them stay together. For many years, I couldn't talk about my parents' divorce. I grieved about it in silent tears. Simple questions about my family from well-wishers embarrassed me, angered me, and I would end up in uncontrollable tears. The day I was able to speak about it without crying, I knew that my healing process started. One thing I realized late in life is that children need stability, and sometimes that's much easier to achieve outside a marriage than in a broken one. Divorce is not always a doorway to happiness, but the same can be said about marriage. There is no winning in divorce, and a part of me will always grieve for the normal family that I never had, though both my parents have gone home.
Thank you, Ayieno, for sharing your story with us. I was very touched by that. I will now read a poem that was sent in by Noune Khamo, who is studying music theatre from Australia. A poem on grief. Pain and healing, they are brothers who cannot part. Pain is present, the marker of the real, the welcomed inevitable. But healing is hope, the language of the soul, the song that sings when silence is loud. Pain reminds us that healing is ours, and healing whispers, "This pain shall not last." Hand in hand, these brothers skip. One without the other does not exist. For what good is night if dawn never broke? And how would we fare if day never slept? common refrain that Changsonla's essay, Ayieno's story, and Noune's poem share is that of the indomitable human spirit. Life's experiences bend us, and yet we learn, we grow, and walk towards the day that follows night. White Space is a production of Take One. It is written and directed by Nitonya Tengoi and Cecino Hyosha. The essay for this episode was edited by Ketayin Lajamir and sound recorded by Kediokretio Satsa. Signature tune is by Nurhe Kate and original score by Tizo Nieka. The art piece for White Space was created by Limatola Longkumer. I'm Susan Angami. Thanks for listening.